Women of Reddit. What's the funniest misconception a man had about women that he probably still believes to this day? My ex legitimately thought I could control the sex of the baby via sexual position at conception or eating certain foods. A male classmate who sat behind me kept whispering my name. So I turned around and asked what he needed. He said he had a really important question, but didn't want to seem stupid. At this point, I was still under the impression he was talking about something regarding the class, so I just told him to ask, and I'll do my best to answer. He proceeds to ask, a girl's vagina is just like an inverted dick, right? I was so caught off guard by the question that I never actually gave an answer. My male friend told me that I don't necessarily know what blood looks like, and that when period blood gets soaked up by a pad or tampon it's no longer visible and soaks into the product, losing the blood color. So pads are always white and dry. Not a woman, but I had a friend who got upset because his girlfriend couldn't hold her period in like pee because it's the same hole. My ex yelled at me for not holding it after I bled through a tiny bit onto his relative's white dining room chair cushions. Idiot. A period is literally several days of constant bleeding, like a wound with non-stop blood pouring out. My boyfriend 32 was confused that I felt totally fine on one day of my period, and then very sick on the next day. I guess he thought we consistently feel the same way throughout, or that it always gradually gets better. He didn't realize our period pain sickness can be totally random. Went on a date with a guy whilst on my period. We ended up kissing on the date and he asked if we could do the deed. I told him that I was on my period and didn't really feel up to it. He rolled his eyes and sighed. Can't you just hold it in? I promise it's worth it. I didn't have any words. Just left. Plot twist, it wasn't worth it, lol. Can't think of a dumb comment from a man I personally know, but I do remember reading about a guy in the UK who went viral a few years ago for wanting to know why women have periods and why they can't just hold their bladder instead. Years ago, when I was in high school, I had a classmate start telling me that his back hurt from being awake so long. I offered him an extra strength Midol because I had it and it works pretty well for general pain relief, and he refused it on account that he didn't want to have a period. He would not be convinced that Midol didn't cause periods. I woman once argued with a guy who kept saying that women aren't into pee right now for the pee right now part, but for the story, and aren't turned on by sex or naked bodies at all. He definitely thinks that to this day, because my argument that I'm a woman and skip any story part in pee right now was met with, just because you're a woman it doesn't mean you know what women like. I met a guy on Tinder that didn't think we could have sex because I was taller than him. Like he physically thought it wouldn't work fit together or something. Needless to say, I never talked to him again. Also, the first thing he said when I walked up to meet him in person was, "Holy shit, you're a giant. Why didn't you tell me?" It was a pretty awkward date. A friend's boyfriend thought that it was biologically impossible for lesbians to get pregnant. Like, once they realize they're gay, their ovaries just shrivel up and quit, so they can never have kids. His reasoning was that he'd never met a lesbian couple with children. This was a one-horse town with like 2,000 residents. He'd never met a lesbian couple, period. I think men also tend to assume that period blood is 100% the same as the blood you see when you cut yourself thin, bright red, etc., which I guess is a fair assumption. Lots of men have no idea that period blood can contain clots and tissue, or that the color of it can vary throughout the cycle. They assume it's just a constant, plain red drip like a nosebleed or something. My ex-boyfriend saw a TikTok that said as a joke that us women have lupus if we were really mad, and asked me if he could see it. I obviously said no and told him that it wasn't true, but he seemed to not believe me, so now I stay up till 3 AM every night thinking about it. Mark, if you're reading this, I'm so sorry that you're stupid enough to believe something off TikTok. Once I made a comment about keeping my puppy close to my bosom after his first bath, and the guy said that it was disgusting. I was confused. He explained quickly to me that I shouldn't hold a puppy against my vagina. That we get a bit of sexual pleasure from inserting a tampon. That getting a UT meant I was cheating on him. What? Men thinking that women who prefer pads over tampons can't handle dick. What? LOL. That our hole can zip shut. A boy in my class last year told me this, and I still find it hilarious. Mind you, he was about 14, 15-ish. That women can produce breast milk on demand, even if they've never been pregnant. If that were true, it would be very inconvenient to say the least. Goes to make coffee, dang out our milk, walks over to wife, honey, do you mind? You can just turn your period off. Alternatives to this are the big egg theory, where you have a period in a toilet all at once, and also pass an egg big enough to see, and the just hold it, where they think you can squeeze your vaginal opening like a sphincter and just not bleed. Bonus misconception: I vividly remember my 2nd grade teacher Mrs. Spears telling my class how, when she was a child, she gained the notion that you eat food and it builds up inside your body from your toes to your head, and that was why you needed to eat to grow up big and strong. Because you were literally getting bigger from storing chewed food inside of you. I'm a guy, but I used to think that women only had one hole. When I was 17, I needed to ask my dad for money to buy period products. He just said, "You needed money for this reason the previous month. It's not like you have your period every month." I just stood there in shock and borrowed some money from a friend until my mom got back the next week. It's not like he and my mom had been married for almost 20 years. And the fact that he was 56, LOL. That an intact hymen means you're a virgin and a torn broken one means you're not. You can have sex and your hymen remain unbroken, and you can tear your hymen running, jumping, doing splits, stretching, etc. A male co-worker asked me if I've ever had a prostate exam. He was a senior in college at the time. The shade of red his face turned when he realized his mistake. Poor Steve. When I was in high school, my best friend's boyfriend thought that when women went through menopause it meant that their vagina sealed shut forever. Another one of our guy friends thought that your period worked the same way as taking a piss, that you go to the bathroom, shove a tampon on in for a minute, and then pulled it out, and you were done until the next time you had to go to the bathroom. I blame our high school, honestly. These seem like basic things a guy should learn. Oh god. So you may not believe this, because I certainly did not think he was serious either at first, but when I was a teen I knew a guy that legitimately thought that girls' breast size had to do with how much BJs they give. I laughed. He did not. I asked him where the heck he got that idiotic idea again, teen so not very tactful. He got angry and left, so I never did find out where in the world he got that idea or how he thought that worked. I'm not a woman, but there are still an embarrassing number of men who think that penises can transform the shapes of vaginas and vulvas. A friend told me women can control their periods. Mind you, he is not a doctor, nor a nurse. He is not studying medicine, and is not even a woman. I told him that's not how it works. All periods are different. But we can't control it. Otherwise we would have done it for years. He refused to listen to me and said he was right cause he read it on Twitter. I never spoke to him again. Women have no inner life and flat out refuse to believe or entertain other points of view. It was the saddest and most frustrating thing I've ever read. He legitimately asserted the women have no inner consciousness. He wanted to pretend that 50% of the population were not quite fully human. I had a partner get very upset and swear he's made every woman he's been with come during penetrative sex. He got upset because I chuckled as he was mid-brag. We've had sex, and he thought pulling his dung out by dragging it sideways across the vaginal walls made girls go crazy. Yeah, I couldn't help chuckling. not a woman. But my younger brother asked my wife, when she had just given birth to my oldest, which of her breasts that had full fat milk. He thought one of the breasts had full fat and the other had skimmed milk. He was 29 and has a university degree. That we are all the same and all want the same things. Despite the stereotypes, I absolutely hate going clothes shopping. I don't want your money, I got my own. My job is just as important to as your job is to you. So quit thinking all girls fit in some mold. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.